Hi everyone, welcome back to Vedic Life Coaching. Thank you so much for joining me, and welcome back to the Troubleshooting series. Today we are spending time with Rahu, and I know a lot of you have been excited about this episode because Rahu and Ketu, as we know, they are vital vital points to study when we are looking at anyone's natal chart. In fact, any of the Vargas, okay? We really have to look at where are Rahu and Ketu. That gives us so much important information. Now, what are Rahu and Ketu? Okay, so we've got these two mathematical points in the sky. We have dealt with all the physical bodies now. We've looked at the Sun, Mercury, Venus. We've looked at them all the way to Saturn. And now we're here with these two mathematical points. And this is, in Western astrology, they will call them the lunar north node, and the lunar south node, the south node. And we call them Rahu Ketu. Okay, they've got names and they've got personalities, and I'm going to explain why. It's because of the incredible mythology that we have as part of Vedic astrology. So I will talk you through the mythology behind these two because it's so incredibly important. But before I do that, what are we looking at when we're looking at the north node of the moon and the south node symbolically? What are we looking at in a chart? Well, we're looking at the north node, Rahu. We are looking at uncharted territory. We're looking at the place where we don't have much experience. We are yet to go there and acquire experience, okay? And when we do go there, we might be a bit scared, we might be just dipping our toe in the water. Equally, we might try to build up too much courage and we might, dive bomb into that area, right? And, spread water and wet everyone else and annoy everybody, right? So it's we're either timid in the Rahu house or we do too much. It can be a place of extremes, okay? And typically when you go into that Rahu area of the chart, you are inexperienced and it feels like the spotlight is on you and it feels like you're naked and you don't know what you're doing, and it's scary. And that's in that place we very often make mistakes, and we make mistakes and then we come back to Ketu, we come back to the south node, to our comfort zone. We come back to a place where we can recover, where we can build up confidence, where we can feel secure again. And then after a time of doing that, we get bored and we need to go back out there, right? We need to go back out into the uncharted territory where it's really exciting because that's where all the growth is. The growth is in that place where we don't know what we're doing and it's unfamiliar, and we have to learn. You have to learn in that Rahu area, okay? So this is really important that we study these in a birth chart. Now here in Vedic astrology, we have got amazing mythology, and I often don't bring up the mythology behind things, even though I do read it and I love it and I know it. But in this instance, we have to bring up the mythology. We can't talk about Rahu Ketu without talking about where these two names come from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read what's written in Wikipedia, because the summary they've done there is about a paragraph and it's really short and swift. But I will include other links let's see, I'll just write down a couple of teachers. There are some amazing people who tell the Rahu Ketu story, and they'll take an hour to tell it, and it's worth it. It's worth sitting there with a cup of tea and just enjoying that because it's so entertaining. And I always love watching men describe Mohini. That is always the best part because you can see in their minds they're trying to kind of describe through words someone who's so intoxicatingly beautiful. And I love watching male teachers talk about Mohini. Is always the best thing to watch. But what I'm going to do is I'll just read out what's here in Wikipedia because it's nice and short. And that way we've covered the mythology and then we're going to get straight into the content. So, the churning of the ocean. One of the most fascinating episodes of Hindu mythology involves the churning of the cosmic ocean in order to obtain Amrita. Now, Amrita is the nectar of immortal life. Okay, you take one drop of that nectar and you'll be immortal, you'll be youthful, you'll be godlike, you'll be beautiful, you'll feel fantastic forever. Who doesn't want a drop of that, right? So I won't go into the churning of the ocean story, though it is here, so I'm going to skip that paragraph. But when the Amrita finally emerged, along with several other treasures, the Devas and Asuras fought over it. Now the Devas are the gods, they are the good guys, okay, and the Asuras are the demons, they are the bad guys, right? However, Vishnu, in the form of the enchantress Mohini, managed to manipulate the Asuras into allowing her to be the one to distribute the nectar, upon which she offered it only to the Devas. Okay, so Vishnu, a male god, incarnates as this incredibly, intoxicatingly beautiful Mohini. And Mohini's there with the crowd, and she's giving all these glances to each person there, kind of, you know, and each person there is thinking, wow, she's just in love with me. But she's manipulating everyone. It's incredible, right? So look at this. We've only just dipped our toe into this story, and already we have deception and manipulation. These are such Rahu topics. Okay, so Vishnu has, you know, come as this enchantress and has said to the Asuras, look, I want to be the one to distribute the nectar, and I'm going to only offer it to the gods, so you can trust me. Now Svarbhanu, an Asura, a bad guy, disguised himself as a Deva, as a good guy, and tried to drink some Amrita himself. Surya, the sun god, and Chandra, the moon god, alerted Vishnu to this deception. Vishnu then decapitated Svarbhanu just as he is about to swallow the nectar, leaving his head and decapitated body immortal. So imagine Svarbhanu has had this drop, and Vishnu figures out, oh no, this drop has gone to one of the bad guys, and whips out his Sudarshan chakra and throws it and decapitates Svarbhanu. Okay, so we've got a head now and a decapitated body, but they are both immortal. Later, this head became known as Rahu, and the beheaded part became known as Ketu. Okay, so that is the mythology behind Rahu and Ketu. We've got this head that desperately wants to consume. Okay, and the other thing about Rahu, okay, if we look at this story, is that there's so much deception here. There's deception on both sides, actually. You know, there's deception on the good side and there's deception on the bad side as well. But Svarbhanu disguises himself as a good guy and tries to get a drop of that beautiful divine nectar. So with Rahu, we have deception. Rahu will deceive, okay? Rahu has no problems telling lies, deceiving, doing any of that. And Rahu is desperate to get the good stuff. Rahu wants, craves, desires, wants to take things, wants to take it for himself, you know. There's this incredible desire there with Rahu. So we've got so many energies at play here. It's really cool. Why don't we get into, let's just take a look if Rahu is too strong. How are we doing on time? We're okay. It's going to be a long one. Doesn't matter. The views are tanking on this series. It's fine. But I think Rahu should attract some viewers. It really should. Okay. Rahu. What if Rahu is too strong in your chart? All right. So how can you tell if Rahu is too strong in your chart? A couple of simple things. Rahu could be conjunct a lot of planets. Or if you divide the chart in half and look, there could be a lot of planets on the Rahu side of the chart. Okay, so that's one way of seeing that. Another way of seeing if Rahu is really strong is if the Lord of Rahu is with Rahu, okay? Or if the Lord of Ketu is sitting with Rahu. That's really important as well. So that's going to be a Rahu dominant person. Now, how will this manifest in real everyday life? All right. Here you are dealing with the master manipulator. This person is expert with words sometimes, with language, with dressing themselves up. Maybe they're brilliant at makeup. Maybe they're brilliant at disguising themselves. You know, this person can transform into someone else. And depending on who they're with, you might also see this person can change their behavior as well. These people who are very strong with Rahu, they are future focused. Okay, so these people are interested in building the future. They don't care too much for the past. And if you're ever doing healing work with someone who's very Rahu dominant, tell them to build the future. Don't tell them to, go into past lives or any of that. It's a waste of time. They don't need to do it. They're here to build tomorrow. So that is a Rahu thing there. The other thing is, they are strong individuals. There will be no one like them, okay? Nobody is going to be like the Rahu person. Rahu is so unique, and Rahu will always end up in an environment where they are the only one of that kind. So they might be the only woman in an engineering program, and at university there's 99% are men and they're the only woman. So it can manifest like that. It can manifest that you are the only foreigner in an environment. You've got one color skin and everyone around you has a different color skin, kind of thing, right? So very often that Rahu people, they have to stand out, and they will stand out. They just will. I've got another thing here. I know I normally go for 3 points, but we're here with Rahu being too strong, so of course we're going to have 4. Obsession is another big thing when Rahu's really strong. You can get obsessed with something, and that can be incredible because genius type people often get obsessed with their subject and they become very good at it because they just eat, live, read, dream, speak that thing that they're studying. They just get right into it. They get immersed in something and they can just be absolutely obsessed with things. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. By the way, on the top point of the thing about being a master manipulator, I don't want anyone to think that I'm saying anything bad about a very strong Rahu. I think Rahu sometimes has the impression of, lying, cheating, deceit, stealing, all this kind of thing. That's not true. There are such good Rahu people. If a Rahu person is committed to the spiritual path and they're really honest and they care deeply, and that person is a massive, they've got such energy to uplift humanity and to create change in the world and to do really good things. So powerful Rahu is a beautiful thing. I don't see any problem with that. Now, what about a weak Rahu? Okay, so what do we have here? So if Rahu is weak, how would we see that in the chart? Well, you're going to see lots of planets will be conjunct Ketu, or a lot of planets will be on the Ketu side of the chart. You might have Lord of Rahu with Ketu, or you might have Lord of Ketu with Ketu. Now that's going to indicate that in this incarnation the person has quite a bit of past stuff to take care of, okay? And that's what you're going to see there. And it's going to be difficult for that person to really venture into the Rahu house and to make much progress there, because they are actually busy in this lifetime clearing up a lot of past karma, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? We've all come to do different things and we'll all get it all done. It just, do you get stuff done in this one, or do you save it for the next life? Or it doesn't matter really, because eventually we get it all done. So what are some of the symptoms in real life? How does this work? Okay, so I've got here, number 1, person is here to deal with lots of past karma, and this person would benefit from doing things like past life regressions and going into all of that and really doing intensive healing work, or figuring things out. That would be a good thing for this person. A person with a weak Rahu will likely refuse to leave their comfort zone. Okay, so this person is really comfortable with the area where Ketu is. I'll give you a quick example. Ketu is in the 4th house, Rahu is in the 10th. I've worked with many people who have this, and sometimes it manifests that these people leave home really early. Sometimes they leave home at 19 and things like that. But equally, sometimes these people, they may not leave home until 40s, 50s, even later. And that's fine. There's no judgment with that, and that's natural. And there'll be some reason for why you're meant to still be at home. So it's not like you're doing anything wrong. Okay, if you are very much, you've got up until, I would say, about 48, really. Ketu matures at 48. And some people, they do need that amount of time with their Ketu house. So there's no judgment, and no one should judge and think, oh, I haven't left my Ketu house yet, and no, it's all fine. It's all what it is, and the dasha system will also show you very much what it is you're meant to be doing. Another symptom of a weak Rahu is, I've got here late midlife crisis, people in their 40s, 50s, even 60s, you know, there's some kind of massive awakening or massive change happening later in life. Okay, so that can be a signal or symptom that they have been spending quite a lot of time in their Ketu house. And again, we must never judge or say that that's not right or any of that. Not at all. And in fact, sometimes there's important reasons and meanings and a need for a person to be still in their Ketu house. And we might explore that in the next Ketu episode. All right, now I'm going to try and fly through these top tips. How are we doing? Oh, look at that. We don't have much time. So I'll fly through these 4 tips if I can, so we can spend a lot of time with the 5th tip, because that's a really good one. So top tip number 1, leave your comfort zone. Okay. If you want to explore Rahu energy, you've got to leave the comfort zone, haven't you? You've got to assess, all right, what is my comfort zone? It's good to know what that is, right? And that your Ketu position will show you and tell you where that is. But you're going to have to leave the comfort zone, ideally, in this incarnation. You're going to have to figure out, all right, where is my Rahu? I better get on with it and make that happen. I have here, you will need energy, courage, and ambition to engage Rahu. Gather your strength and go, go, go. I've got the note here, pack a bag, leave, enter the new domain, right? Feel the fear and do it anyway. So that is top tip 1. And top tip number 2 is curb your addictions. Yes, Rahu, as we heard in the story, was so desperate for a drop of that Amrita, right? He was just craving it. So Rahu can indicate an area where we're addicted, right? And a classic combination of addiction that we can see is Rahu Venus. When Rahu and Venus are together, a person will, wow, they're really, you know, they can really go for it and have addictions and things like that. I've got the note here, Elizabeth Taylor is a good example of this. Also in tip 5, we're going to meet Amy Winehouse. Now she had her Rahu in Taurus, so that's a Rahu-Venus combination right there. Now Elizabeth Taylor, I haven't seen her chart in absolutely ages, but I won't bring it up because we're running out of time. But I'll bring it up on the screen in editing, but I won't bring it up now. Pretty sure she had Rahu Venus in the 5th house, and I've got here she was addicted to romance, 5th house, and wedding days, 5th house, right? She was addicted. So was she addicted to marriage? Well, marriage is 7th house, but she was addicted to like the wedding day kind of thing, wasn't she? I don't know, she had quite a few of those. But she was addicted to romance, she was addicted to falling in love. I would like to do her as a case study one of these days, so I will study her chart in a bit more depth. So yeah, I would say just manage your addictions, curb your addictions. If you want to use your free will to get off addictions, that's a very good thing. Another thing here is we don't have to be just addicted to substances or outer things. We can be addicted to validation. We can be addicted to our work. We can be addicted to telling lies, you know, compulsive lying, things like that. Rahu, I've got the note here, Rahu will happily lie. Don't do this. Yeah, that's a good point. I did this in my early 20s. This troubleshooting series really is about my early 20s. Well, I was thinking about this, and I did lie. I lied in my early 20s to hang out with these friends that I wasn't supposed to hang out with. And gosh, I'm so happy I did that, you know, because otherwise my early 20s would have just been studying and working and nothing else. And so, yes, I did lie, and I was quite good at it. But when, you know, after that phase of my life ended and I moved to England and I became more spiritual, you go on the spiritual path and you cannot afford to tell a single lie. And Louise Hay talks about this. She says that, you know, the more she goes on her spiritual path, the quicker and more swiftly the divine will absolutely clobber her if she does something a little bit off or wrong or askew, or and I have that experience as well. You know, lightning bolts will come out of the sky and I will be in trouble. All right, top tip 3. keep going. You've got to keep going with this Rahu Ketu journey, because Rahu might want to make you a bit extreme. You might go extreme in the Rahu house. You might make mistakes, and then you've got to come back to Ketu in order to replenish, to recharge, to get back to your comfort zone. So while you're in the comfort zone and you are replenishing and you're recharging and you're gathering your strength again, keep going with your Rahu path. Keep a little bit of that alive. Keep doing something that keeps that going. And I'm actually thinking about when I came out here to Sydney in 2020, and I was really sick. So I kind of crumbled and had to come back to my comfort zone, which was, come back here. And but I kept doing readings, and I kept doing my monthlies, and I kept doing everything, So I kept chipping away at the Rahu house. It never really stopped. So the top tip here is, I've got here, while you're recovering in the Ketu house, keep a little bit of Rahu going. Keep a tiny bit going, whatever you can. Just keep a little bit of Rahu going. And I have the note here that continuity of Rahu can make or break greatness. It's kind of like that little bit of compound interest, because they liken Ketu to Mars and they liken Rahu to Saturn. So Saturn is a thing of compound interest, that you keep chipping away a little bit, and then you reap massive rewards later. So Rahu is like this. You will have this compound interest thing going on. All right, top tip 4. We've got 2 minutes left. Don't worry, I'll start another memory card. We'll have a long episode today. Top tip 4, be weird. Yes, Rahu is weird. Rahu is strange. Rahu is unusual. Rahu is unique. Rahu stands out, and do that. Definitely stand out. I think the Stoics actually tell people to, and I can't remember which Stoic, gosh, if I remember I'll put it on the screen, but one of the Stoics said something about you should dress up in a clown outfit and go into the town, because they're trying to build, they're getting you to build strength in your individuality. They're getting you to be a strong individual that can take criticism and insults, and you can weather it, And Rahu, it's going to be important that you embrace your weirdness, embrace where you are unique, embrace where you're really different. That's the good stuff, and that's what the world actually wants. And I've got the quote here by Dolly Parton. She once said, "Find out who you are and do it on purpose." And I love that quote, and I'm actually going to bring up her chart just quickly now, because I'm going to bring it up on the screen. So I've got Dolly Parton's chart up, and she is quite the Rahu. She's not afraid to stand out and be unique and be different. And she's got her Rahu conjunct Saturn and Mars. Saturn and Mars sometimes, they're hugely powerful in this chart. Look at that. They're both retrograde, they're both conjunct. Those two alone can bring world fame, right? But she's got those two in the 11th house, which is an air house, which, yes, can be fame. And Rahu is there as well. She is incredibly unique as a person. She's also got Rahu, Jupiter there in D9 in the 2nd house, so an expansion of Rahu energy. She's so unique, and she's so unafraid to be unique and to be different. And in fact, she'll do it deliberately. She will. That is a feature, I love that about her. I think she's really great. So that is top tip 4. Now, I'm going to rush through to get to top tip 5. We shall spend some time here, guys, because this is a big tip. Top tip 5, play with distortion. Okay, what kind of distortion am I talking about? Now, I am not talking about distortion as in distorted, shadowy beings, which you might come across in dreams or things like that. I know I've come across some weird shadowy beings in my dream state, where there's this one particular shadowy being that it doesn't have a face, but it's like this dark shadowy thing that will come up to me in my dream, and it's like it's in my actual room. I'm thinking of my place in London, like it would sometimes stand at my window. It was so freaky. And I'm in dream state, but it really felt like a real thing. And what I would do is consciously in my head, I'm kind of going, okay, I've got a lot of fear right now, and I'm feeling the fear, and I'm going, okay, feel it in your body. I'm feeling it. I'm doing all the spiritual and coaching techniques, and I'm feeling the fear, and okay, there it is. And I'm praying to Lord Shiva, and I'm expanding my white light. I'm doing all this stuff, and these things go away, and it's not a problem. So if you're on a spiritual path, then, you know, these things come and go, and if anything, it becomes amusing after a while. I remember when I had those dreams, like in my early 20s, and it's like someone following me and all this scary stuff. And yeah, it used to be pretty scary back then. But now it's almost like, oh, this is a good opportunity to do some work, right? So, but when I say play with distortion, I'm not saying play with those shadowy beings or any of that. I'm saying play with, mix it up energetically. All right, so let's see, how do I do this? I'm going to use 2 musicians to do this, and we're going to look at their work. And by the end of this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'm going to use a song by Amy Winehouse, and I'm going to play you some of that music. She performs live on the Jonathan Ross show, and the song that she is performing is called I Heard Love is Blind. Now, she has written this song, okay, and this is a fantastic Rahu song, because this is all Rahu in this song. Now, we look at her chart, let's bring up her chart quickly as well. I should have brought up all these charts before I started working today, but I didn't think that far ahead. All right, so yeah, Rahu in the first house in Taurus. Okay, so we've got Rahu and Venus present here in the ascendant. So her entire being is Rahu. And if you look at her physically, she was a Rahu person, wasn't she? Nobody had a beehive like she did. You know, nobody wore that incredible mascara like she did. You know, that mascara was thick, like you can see that from the moon, right? Like no one dressed like she did. No one sounded like she did. No one dared to do the things that she did. She was so incredible. I really enjoy her music so much. I think she's amazing. And in this song that I'm about to play you, she's written here, I Heard Love is Blind. So that's the title. But, you know, she's saying, you can still trust me. This ain't infidelity. It's not cheating. You were on my mind, right? How long is this guy going to buy this story? I don't think so. But the song is very good, right? So maybe this will get her off the hook. I don't know. But it's a great song. It's so beautifully written, and there's so much emotion, and there's so much artistry in here. And what she does so brilliantly as a performing artist is she plays with distortion. So when you listen to her voice, listen out for, and especially if you've got headphones or any of that, listen for what she does with her voice. Sometimes it'll be really rough. Sometimes she'll break the timbre, she'll break the voice. She'll play with texture, it'll be rough, and then every now and then there'll be a bar of smoothness, and it's perfectly on the note. She gives your ear exactly what it wants to hear, right? But then sometimes she withholds that from you. Sometimes she's playing, she's not quite on the note, or she's sliding up to a note, or she's sliding down from a note. She's doing all kinds of different things in her performance. It's extraordinary. I mean, and you look at this footage that I'm going to show you, it's just her and a couple of chords on a guitar. There's nothing. Like she's using nothing, but she's enthralling everyone. It's so wonderful to watch. So I'm going to play you a little piece of that.
So why you so upset when baby you one day, you know I was thinking of you when I came. Oh, now what do you expect? You left me here alone. I drank so much, needed your touch. Now don't overreact. Yes, I pretended he was you, 'cause you wouldn't want me to be lonely. Now how can I put it so you'll understand? I didn't let him hold my hand, but he loved like
All right, so if you listen to that piece of music, and if you'd like to listen to the full piece, I'm going to put the link below, so you'll be able to click on that and watch the full performance. It's very good. But you can see what she's doing there. And the other thing is, because she is a Venus Rahu, okay, and here's someone who's expert with addiction. So one of the things about her genius is that she knows that intermittent reward is the most addictive form of reward. And that's why in a performance or in a song, you know, she's giving you all kinds of different things, but every now and then she's just really perfect and giving you exactly what you want. It's so amazing. So she's just, what a performer. What an absolutely amazing performer. Now the other person, I was just checking no, I thought the battery was dying. Anyway, the other person that I want you to listen to is Jacob Collier. Okay, so we're going to listen to him in a moment. And I've learnt so much about music by listening to this young man. He is incredible. I think he is the most incredible musician, yes, I've ever heard in my life. Yeah, definitely. He's just, there's nothing like him. Okay, he's very Rahu as well. Now he's got Saturn in Sattva, I'm pretty sure. And if we look at him from the moon, you'll see that that's a Shasha Mahapurush Yoga. That's a Johnny Depp level of fame, right? That's, you know, this guy is going to be known all over the world, and he is. And his music is just, oh, it's so incredible. Now, it's very Rahu. The clip that I'm going to show you is his performance of John Lennon's Blackbird. And he's performing this at MIT. So there are a bunch of MIT engineers in the audience. So these are really, really smart people, really profound, intelligent minds, really smart guys. And he has invented this instrument that is some kind of vocal harmonizer. So as he plays the keyboard, it's harmonizing his voice somehow. I don't know how these things work. I mean, it just goes over my head. It's way too clever for me. But what I love to watch here is the excitement of the audience. The audience goes absolutely bananas every time he shifts keys, like he'll shift the song into another key. And the other thing that he does so brilliantly is he takes something that you know really well, the song Blackbird, and he's twisted it. He's playing with distortion. And in that process, he's playing with your mind. He's turning your mind to mush, you know, but then he'll give you something that's enthralling and exciting, and he'll give you harmony, you know, after a bit of confusion. And it is that intermittent reward thing. So I'll play you the clip so you can see.
Every single time, don't you hear singing about birds singing in the air? They're all in that time, in the daytime, in the
Hopefully I've edited in the bit where the violin guy behind him has his head in his hands because he's going, oh my gosh, you're blowing my mind. You know, hopefully I'll put that bit in there, but you'll see the excitement of the audience. The audience is so excited every time he does that key shift, and you know, he's actively messing with everyone's minds, but they're loving it, right? And it is so much fun. Like, playing with distortion as an artist is fun. And I think especially when you're someone like Jacob Collier, who is so clearly a divine human being. He's thoroughly divine in every single way. But because of his incredible skill, he can play with the distortions and make art out of it. It's really wonderful to watch. And I've got the note here that, you know, Rahu is wildly flirtatious. Like, if you look at the performance as well, it's so good to watch, because sometimes he's like 20 different archetypes in that performance. Sometimes he's a little bit school teacher and he's a bit proper. Sometimes he's being massively seductive. Sometimes he's really butch and manly and raw. There's all this like raw power coming out of him. It's just mind-blowing. What a performance, right? And what a performer. And to me, he and Amy Winehouse, both of these performers and musicians, have really shown skill and mastery of Rahu energy. They work it, they play with it, they, you know, and it excites the mind. It really does. So I think I'll leave it there. I mean, I could chat about music for hours. It's my favorite topic, I think. But yeah, and if only I could be musical. I'm not really. I play a little bit of piano and that's about it. I know like 2 or 3 pieces, but well, there it is. All right. Well, anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Now, let me know in the comments below how you got on with this episode. I would love to hear what you have to say about Rahu. There is a lot more to say about Rahu. I could do another 5 tips with it because it's such an important energy and it really is completely fascinating. But I'm going to have to leave it here. So thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Good.